So last week our story was, it had reached midway point between why a soul feels incomplete. So you might have noticed that no matter you look at any person in this world, he always feels a sort of incompleteness within him. When I say incompleteness, the soul, the character, the person, even if we look at him from outside, we say, oh, God has given him everything that one could desire, but he is still wanting some more. Now let us look at our own lives. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever we had aspired for, we are probably living that life now, plus or minus. But have we ever felt contented that yes, we are living the life of our dreams? Probably not, or most probably not, because we are all trying to always look at something which is beyond us, in front of us, trying to yearn for something which is called ambition and drive, but it never gives us any kind of contentment. So in this chapter, we will try and finish where we started from, about how so this is a story that is being this is a story that is that we had spoken about in the on last Saturday. So we will try and recount it. For those who are a little new to this, let me tell you the context of these immortal talks. So what happens is, when Sri Ramavatara passes away in the Saryu river, then Lord Hanuman goes to Lanka to meet Vibhishana. There he stays with the Mathang tribe. It's a tribe still existing in Sri Lanka. So while he is there, he imparts Brahma Vidya to them. And this Brahma Vidya is supposed to lead us to moksha. It is so powerful. So for the first time, after tens of thousands of years, this Brahma Vidya is coming to us again. But he says, the Mathang tribesmen ask Lord Hanuman, saying, you have given us, O Lord, what about the next generations? So he gives them a promise that every 41 years I am going to come and stay with your tribe, and subsequently give the same Brahma Vidya which will allow them to reach moksha. Of course, there is a lot of, for them, everybody who is born in this Mathang tribe have been sadhakas, like rishis and munis, for whom this is the last birth on earth. And so this katha, this Brahma Vidya, acts as an accelerator towards moksha. For us, we keep listening to it time and time again so that we move closer towards moksha. So these are the stories that we read every Saturday between 8:30 after the Hanuman Chalisa is over. And it is mainly in English. However, if anybody is not able to understand it in English, I can translate it for you either in Kannada or in Hindi. So the story that we were talking about is that what is the differentiation between this character and our soul? So our soul is forever anchored with Brahma, with Parabrahma. However, the character goes through all the drama. The problem comes when we as a soul start associating and attaching ourselves to this character. Saying, this character, my name is Anil. So the soul Anil feels that the character Anil is real, and starts attaching all the emotions and sentiments with this character without realizing that the soul is the real self. Because after this birth, in the death, what happens to this character? It is gone, and then we take another birth, and then we again attach ourselves to that character and believe that that is real. So the one who is able to break the association between the character and the soul is called a Dvija. That means the one who is born again, Dvija, जिसका जन्म पुनर्हुआ है, पुनर्जन्म, but staying in the same body, like Sri Ramana Maharishi or Ramakrishna Paramahamsa or Buddha or Mahavira or Swami Vivekananda. All of them, while staying in the same body, realized the ultimate truth, and so they were reborn. They are called as Dvijas. So if we are able to have that same inspiration and move towards that, then we too can become that. So Lord Hanuman says, so Dhanushka, Dhanushka is one of the tribesmen. Let us express our gratitude to Dhanushka for engaging in this conversation and bringing us this divine wisdom. Deva. So Lord Hanuman asks, do you know the analogy of the lost sheep? I'm sure you have heard the fable of the lost sheep. Yes, Deva. Dhanushka stood up at once and began telling the tale with great interest. A curious tourist once visited a beautiful but mysterious valley. He was totally new to the place. He didn't know where to begin exploring it. So he saw a local shepherd who was searching for his lost sheep. The tourist offered to join him in his search. This way he could fulfill his desire of exploring the valley. The two unlikely companions kept wandering about the valley one in search of his sheep and the other simply exploring the fascinating place. When the evening fell, the shepherd gave up all hopes of finding his sheep and began walking back to his home. The tourist accompanied him and stayed at his home that night. Next day, the shepherd set out to graze his herd and to do other routine works. The tourist desired to accompany him because he was now addicted to everything the valley offered him. The visuals, the hardship, the sweat, the relief and so on. The shepherd allowed him on the condition that he helped him in taking care of the sheep. The tourist didn't know how to do a shepherd's work, so he simply started copying the shepherd. This went on for several days. Ultimately, he forgot that he was a tourist and not a shepherd. He forgot his true identity. The legend says that he wanders in the valley to this day, grazing sheep that are not his own. He suffers all the hardships of a shepherd's life. He doesn't have to do it. He could leave everything and become a tourist once again and move to explore some other place. Nothing is stopping him except his own ignorance. If luck favors him, he might meet a guru and get enlightened about his true identity. Else he will keep roaming the valley till eternity. Good Dhanushka, remarked the immortal Guru Hanuman. In this fable, the tourist is the soul and the shepherd is the character. To explore the scenes happening in the universe, a soul has to get attached to a character. As long as it's enjoying the scenes, it's alright to go along with the character. But as soon as unfavorable and miserable scenes start rolling, it should abandon the character at once. Abandoning the character doesn't mean his death. He was here before your soul came. He will be here even after your soul has gone. In fact, your soul can come back later to get attached to him again when good scenes start rolling in his life. Now the second analogy, I assume you are familiar with the lodestone. A lodestone is a magnet. So in the first story, Lord Hanuman senses that one of the tribeswomen, her name is Urmi, death is approaching. Why? Because he's able to see Yamadeva, who's standing there willing to take the soul Urmi along with him. So Hanumanji teaches Urmi to fly from her body, teaches her soul to fly from her body and go to another body who is experiencing death. She experiences death through another person and then comes back into this body to start living again. So Yamadeva asks, so the way in which the death was supposed to happen was that she is walking and Pavandeva blows the wind very hard, due to which a branch of a tree gets cut and falls on her head and she dies. But then that doesn't happen. So Yamadeva is very angry and calls Pavandeva immediately and says, you were supposed to blow the wind and the branch was supposed to cut and the tree was supposed to fall on her. Sorry, the branch was supposed to fall on her head, causing her death. Why didn't you do it? So Pavandeva immediately says, oh Yamadeva, look at who's the soul in the body. The soul is not there in the body. It is already in another body which is trying to experience death. That is when Yamadeva understands that Lord Hanuman has already done this. So when we become true bhakts and devotees of Lord Hanuman, he enables us to do many mysterious things. And one of those things is to enable us to leave the body. When I say leave the body, this character. So we've been doing this katha for the last few months, since April, May, and we have got in-depth knowledge now to the regular listeners who are here about how the mistake that we make in our lives is being attached to this character very strongly, thinking this is my family, this is my house, this is my work surroundings, work environment, this is my home environment. Okay, when we attach so much, we are not able to disassociate ourselves from the character, and hence we go through all the sufferings. Whereas we could anytime disassociate ourselves from the character and leave the character and go to another character, experience all the learnings that the character has to offer, and come back. For example, let me say that I want to now experience prime, supreme athleticism through an Olympic athlete's body. I could leave my body anytime, go to that body, experience that, take the learnings, and then come back to this body or go to any other body. Now this was the way it used to happen in Satyuga. In Satyuga, the reason why they say that there was no fighting, there were no negative emotions of jealousy, possessiveness, etc., was because there were innumerable bodies, and the souls kept jumping from one body to another. A soul which wanted to experience a baby or being a child would go into a child's body, and then would come into a parent's body, grandparent's body. The journey of the character would go on, but the soul could keep switching bodies and keep experiencing it. But the Satyuga ended because one soul wanted to go on occupying the most handsome body. In order to break that illusion, Lord Indra, the Devas requested Lord Indra to create an even more handsome body. So this soul would leave that body and go to that body. Now all the other souls got fascinated. What is so interesting and fascinating about occupying the most handsome body? So they also wanted to occupy that body. So that resulted in an infighting and death. And that death signified the end of Satyuga. So now we come back to the second analogy. The second analogy is that of the lodestone or the magnet. Lord Hanuman traced a circle in the air with a smooth movement of his fisted hand. When he opened his fist, three things were sitting in his large palm: a magnetic stone, a piece of iron, and a thick leaf of a banyan tree. Expressions of his face suddenly became childlike as he placed the magnet upon the leaf and magnetically attached the iron piece below it. The magnetic force was working between them despite the barrier placed in the form of the leaf. When he moved the magnet upon the leaf, the iron piece mimicked the movement underneath. This lodestone has magnetic power, spoke the immortal Lord Hanuman. It can get attached to any iron piece it likes. In this analogy, the lodestone is a soul and the iron piece is a character. The soul doesn't have to come inside the time space to get attached to a character. It can do so from the Shunya tunnels. I'm sorry, it is from all the stories that we have been reading, it is a little slightly difficult concept to grasp about how there are space and time tunnels within this universe, and how there are Shunya tunnels which connect in between the space and time tunnels. So when we become Shunya, when we disassociate ourselves from this character, when you say Shunya, it is nothingness. In this state of nothingness, we can travel in these Shunya tunnels and go to any scene in space-time. So Lord Hanuman explains that this entire universe is not moving. The entire universe is still, which is static. It is only scenes that are there, which means that if we can imagine a scene, it is already there in this universe. This universe is a white ball. So if we say that we are Shunya, which means we attain that oneness with the universe, we become nothingness. We become nothingness, so we can travel to any scene in this universe, any scene, and get attached to a character which is living that scene, see and witness the scene from that point of view. For example, I want to become Arjuna, I can become a nothingness, travel to the scene where the Kurukshetra war is happening, experience it through Arjuna or through any other warrior, experience that scene and come back into my character. So this is how these are some of the concepts that are explained. That is why it is called Brahma Vidya, because this is not there in, I mean, this is explained in a very mysterious way in the Vedas, but this is given to us in a very straightforward manner through immortal talks. Once the lodestone gets attached to an iron piece, an interesting thing happens. The latter also assumes the power to move the former, even though it has no magnetic power of its own, which means that we get attached to the character so much that we believe that the soul is not different from the character. So in one of the first chapters, the Guru says to the disciple that ideally the character's journey is charted. The soul needs to be taking guidance from Lord Hanuman, and it should be directing the character or the character on how to live life, which means that you cannot change the circumstances of your life. If you have to, based on your karma and desire, you have to, let us say, experience some tragedy, you will definitely experience that tragedy. But what difference it makes is that when you realize that you are a soul, you no longer attach yourself to those emotions. You are able to come out of your character, witness all of that like a third person, right? So it says that when the iron piece moves, the lodestone mimics the motion. So today, why is it called Maya? Why is it called illusion? Is because exactly the reverse is happening. The character assumes that there is no soul. So it is doing all the actions that the character will do. But who is taking all that karma upon itself? The soul takes the karma. Which means that, let us say, somebody has harmed you in this life. What do? Our first reaction is to take revenge. Let us say we take revenge. What do we do in this process? We have imprinted the cycle of revenge on our soul, which means that we have taken our revenge. Then that soul remembers that I need to avenge myself, and so you take another birth where that soul will come back for its revenge. Now your soul feels I have been wronged, and so I have to avenge. So now you realize that will go on for life upon life, births upon births. You are avenging him, he is avenging you, so we become in that Avengers cycle, never able to get out of it. So that is why one of the reasons they say is forgive and forget. It doesn't really matter, because this is the illusion of life. So how do we, so that then the question arises is, how do we deal with it?
Yeah, can you just sit and
take all that
take
shit?
all the shit?
So the way to deal with it is to realize that this is the Rangamanch. What is a Rangamanch? The theatre of drama. So in the theatre of drama, if we have to keep emphasizing it time and time again, that this is the theatre of drama, this is the theatre of drama, I am only the character, which means that if you have taken part in a skit in a school, right, in your school days, then you play certain character, and then the play is over, and do you carry the emotions of that character? You don't.
To some time.
After some time. So it is not wrong to feel the intensity. At the end of the day, we are all humans. So the intensity of the emotions runs strong in us. But when we continuously tell ourselves, remind ourselves that this is all a Rangamanch, this is all a Rangabhumi, I am just the character. So it is not easy. I know, because I have felt that strong emotion running in me when I felt that I was wrong. It is very natural. How could he do that to me? It's a very strong emotion. But when we keep telling ourselves this is just the character, this is the Maya, this is the illusion, then what happens is we detach ourselves from the character, and in doing so, the power of the sentiment, the power of the emotion loses its grip on us. Then we are no longer flowing in the emotion. So what happens otherwise? You are flowing in the emotion, right? You are not thinking, you are flowing in the emotion. And your actions are determined by the the intensity of your emotion. How intensely you feel the emotion determines the next step of yours. Correct? The more we detach from that emotion, the lesser the intensity of the action. So the lesser it becomes, to a point where you say, I'm no longer controlled by my emotion. Then what will be your action? Nothing. You just move away from it and you say, that's it. Now, these emotions, we have read in another chapter before, there are 9 different types of emotions. These emotions are like your noose on the character's neck. Every emotion puts a noose on your neck and ties it back with a nail to Maya, saying that this character is real. So every time we keep identifying the emotion, it's called as emotional quotient, right?
Yeah.
Every time we understand and we break down that emotion, and you keep asking yourself, who is feeling this emotion? What am I feeling right now? I'm feeling hate, I'm feeling anger, I'm feeling victimhood, I'm feeling guilt, I'm feeling all these emotions, even positive emotions. Because we have learnt in another chapter about the concept of suras and asuras. Were you there for that? Yeah, so suras and asuras are these invisible bodies. They are cursed from the previous kalpa of earth to keep experiencing these emotions. So suras, the minute they see that somebody is experiencing a good emotion, the suras hijack that body, feel the good emotion and then leave. But what happens in that process is, it makes your body and mind vulnerable for an asura attack. So the minute the sura leaves, the asura is hovering around you in order to occupy it. The minute you start feeling a negative emotion. So immediately, whenever you feel a negative emotion, the asura comes, he experiences it and he doesn't go. He might go momentarily, but he's still hovering around you in order to do a bad activity through you, to influence your body and mind to do a bad activity through you. So he'll continuously keep making you do it. Right? It has happened so many times.
Yeah.
If you do a bad activity, let's say somebody has hurt you, you say words, you do deeds to hurt that person back.
Again and again.
Who feels that? First, that when you feel hurt, the asura will feel the hurt. He'll say, go ahead. He'll be hijacking your body and mind to tell you that, go ahead, hurt that person again. You hurt that person. What emotion do you feel? Guilt? Saying, regret, I shouldn't have done that. Then who is feeling that guilt and regret? That asura is feeling it. So what will be your next action? You will try to over-compromise. What do? You will go back, you will plead forgiveness. He will tell you, okay, then he knows that in your mind that you owe him, so he'll make you do something for which you shouldn't have done. Again, another cycle of guilt, victimhood will start. How could he do that? He exploited my feelings. See, the cycle of emotions never stop. And what do the cycle of emotions do? It keeps your soul from realizing itself. Self-realization never happens. The character is continuously put a noose around with emotions, strong emotions, tied back to this earthly plane. You are never able to move towards moksha. So what is this? What are these stories essentially telling us? It is, every story is aimed at only one objective, to help us realize the difference between the soul and the character. So continuing. What is free will of the soul? When the iron piece moves, the lodestone mimics the motion, which means that the character will do everything, the soul keeps getting the karma. And so you'll keep taking births after births to get rid of your karma. Similarly, even though all the power of free will lies with the soul, once it gets attached to a character, it stops exercising that power. It starts mimicking the desires of the character. That means that the character gets the power to decide the soul's journey. If there is a bad, let's say you're having a bad experience and it is not stopping, you have got yourself into a situation where continuously bad things are happening to you, you're in a bad situation in life. You have the power, the soul. You means, when I say you, I'm saying soul. And I say I, we. It is all the soul that I'm referring to. has the power to leave this character and fly away, go to another character which has a better life. But we don't do that. Why? Because we are continuously attached to this character, thinking that this is us. The job of a guru is to remind the soul of its power of free will. Did you know that for days together, apparently, Sai Baba would leave his body and go and experience in another body. That body would be guarded for weeks together. He would go and he would come back into that body. His body would be lying in suspended animation, right? And he would go have his whatever that he had to do. This is experience. This is elaborated in autobiography of a yogi. This is elaborated in also Sri M's Journey of a Soul. All of these are told. In fact, even Shankaracharya during the debate, you know the debate that happens between Shankaracharya and
A woman. A woman.
yeah, I'm forgetting her name. She is the wife of that Pandit.
Pandit, yeah.
I'm forgetting. So that time they say that she puts forth the argument that you have never experienced married life. You have never experienced samskaric life or samsaric life. How will you know all the attractions and the lure of samsaric jivana? So he says, very good, point taken. I haven't experienced it. I will experience and come back. So he goes to the jungle. He, in deep meditation, he leaves his body, and there is the body of a king, which is thought to be dead. He occupies the body of the king. For 1 month, he experiences the life of a king. In fact, the ministers realize, because that king was a Mamuli king, right? Who's all the time in this samsaric life, experiencing his power. But the way he conducts the day-to-day administration, the way he does worship towards God, immediately they know that it is not the soul of the king which has come back. So the main minister asks all the soldiers to go in search of a rishi who is meditating in this kingdom in order to know and capture, so that the soul doesn't leave the body and go back into the rishi's body. But it so happens that they never find the body of the rishi. Shankaracharya's soul comes out, goes back to his body, and then he goes back into the argument and says, I have experienced the life of a samsaric jivana, and I can tell you that it has no power over me. He says it has no power over me. I have come back, I have left, and I have experienced supreme power, supreme wealth, supreme lust, supreme, it is called acquisitiveness. Acquisitiveness is more than greed. What is acquisitiveness? Avarice. Acquisitiveness and avarice mean that if I have one pair of shoe which is sufficient for me, I'll buy 3 more pairs of shoes because it looked good. That is acquisitiveness, avarice. I'll keep trying to acquire more. So I have experienced all that through the life of a king, and I can tell you that it has no power, and I have come back. So they accept defeat. So then, don't take away the wrong conclusions from this analogy, says Lord Hanuman. The soul doesn't control the character like the lodestone controls the iron piece. The soul just traces and witnesses the character's journey. It doesn't alter or script it in any way. You realized, I was just telling you about it, that the journey of the character is already scripted. We have no power over it. Which means that if you have to go through certain experiences because of what we did in the previous Janma or this Janma itself. Lord Indra tells about desire fulfillment. I don't know if you were there for that story or not. He says that I can see there are certain desires of yours that are waiting for the last so many births, hundreds of births away, that I need to give you, but I am not able to give you now.
Yeah, because you don't have that karma.
No, one, because you are attached to Lord Hanuman so much that he is preventing you from.
Achha, he's
you
attached
remember
to
that
Hanuman and
Hanumanji is
Lakshmi.
yes, exactly, and to Lord Shiva.
Shiva.
Where there is Shiva, there is no pain. Where there is Lord Vishnu, he will not let you derail from the path of moksha.
Moksha.
All that is there. So, to tell you in concise way, always be attached to the Lord Hanuman, because if we are attached to Lord Hanuman, it's a conduit to Lord Mahavishnu. So he says, one of the Dhanushka, I'm forgetting who was it, not Basanta, Dhanushka I think. He asks, why is it that my soul is also attached to Lord Vishnu? So why is it that you are not able to give me? He says, so Lord Indra laughs and tells him, your soul can never be so deeply attached to Lord Mahavishnu as Lord Hanuman's soul is. But your soul is attached to Lord Hanuman very deeply. So keep only that going. Where there is attachment through Lord Hanuman, if you are attached to Lord Vishnu, I cannot give you either pain or pleasure that will derail you from the path of moksha. Similarly, he says, through you are attached, through Lord Hanuman, you are attached to Lakshmi Mata. So if you are attached to Devi Lakshmi, I can only give you abundance. Also he says, through your bhakti to Lord Hanuman, you are attached to Lord Shiva, and I cannot give pain where there is Lord Shiva. So all we need to know is that Hanumat se hi sarva sukha kari aur devata chittana dharai is so true that we don't need to worship all other devatas. All we need to do is worship Lord Hanuman, and through his deep attachment and connection to all other devas, Lord Indra cannot give us pain, pleasure and all those other things which is there pending from lot of other births and lifetimes pending for us. So let me come back and say that the soul just traces and witnesses the character. What is the soul? If I have to define, maybe the other listeners here can tell, what is the soul?
I don't know, maybe it's nothingness or...
Fantastic. The soul is nothingness. What is the soul? The soul is a speck of light. A soul is there in a bacteria. The soul is there in an elephant, in a dinosaur, in a shark, whatever. From the largest of things to the tiniest of things, a soul is present. So a soul is a part of the Parabrahma himself. So the soul is Shunya. If you realize Shunyaness or nothingness, that means you have realized the character of the soul. In the self-realization of soul, there is no ego, because you realize you are nothing. So where is the question of ego? Everything that happens, whenever there are circumstances in our lives, please observe that we are attaching ourselves to the character. If we attach ourselves to the soul, then there is nothing to attach to. Then you will not be responding to circumstances the way we are responding to circumstances. I'll include myself, I also do that. Unlike the lodestone and the iron piece, which are bound together due to magnetic force, the soul and the character are not bound by anything except illusion or maya. The soul mimics the character out of pure illusion and ignorance. If you stick to these technical details, this analogy is great to visualize the illusionary connection between the soul and the character. Another analogy is that of a public transport vehicle. I assume you know what public transport is. Yes, Deva, said Urmi. Let us express our gratitude to Urmi. Large bullock carts owned by the king running from one place to another at fixed time schedule. Citizens can pay a small fare to get a ride. The route of a public transport vehicle is fixed. The passenger has no control over the vehicle. In this analogy, the passenger is the soul, the vehicle is the character. Am I correct, Deva? Correct, said Lord Hanuman. The driver of such a vehicle has his own desires to follow, his own route to cover. He has to stop at 1,000 places and take 1,000,000 detours before reaching a destination that you desire to reach. You don't have to go with him. You are a soul. You can just hop off the vehicle of character and fly directly to your destination through the Shunya tunnels. Very difficult to understand.
Yeah.
Very difficult to understand.
You're bound to that journey, you have to go in that bus.
No, that is what he's trying to say. That the bus is going in a particular way.
Yeah.
You have to take, what does he say? You have the bus has to stop, the driver of the bus has to stop at 1,000 places and take 1,000,000 detours, which means you have to take 1,000 births, experience millions of emotions, difficult circumstances, happy circumstances, all of that. One life you will be a king, another life you will be a beggar. You have to go through all of that till you realize the nature of the soul, correct? But through this knowledge that we are getting, if we are able to focus on the nature of the soul, then you also get the power to leave this character at any point in time and move to another character which is closer to that path of moksha. You had to experience death. In the first, let us stick to these stories itself. The character of Urmi had to experience death. But Lord Hanuman taught her to fly from her body, go to a body which is experiencing death and come back. Let us say you had to experience, I don't know, a difficult relationship breakup.
Yeah.
You can go to a body which is already experiencing it, experience that and come back. But it is very difficult because once you enter into a character, you assume all his karmas and desires. You start feeling that character is for real. How do you enter into a character? Through the karma desire coordinates, correct?
Yeah.
Once you attain the karma desire coordinates through the linga body,
Linga body.
the linga body carries all the karma desire coordinates. So once you get into the linga body, you assume all the karma desire. Then what happens? You attach yourself to the character, just like you are attaching your soul is attaching to the character Rajni. So your soul Rajni has become character Rajni. Let us say there is a soul, I don't know, the word Pratima is coming to me. So let's say the soul Pratima is going through a breakup, right? You can go there, take that character up, experience it and come back to your body. When the circumstances of your character has resolved itself. You understand? Let's say everything has happened, your breakup has happened, now you're a free bird, then you can come back to this character. But it never happens. Why? Because if you remember, there is a story where Lord Hanuman calls from
woman.
Vishnu Loka.
She doesn't.
She's unable, she comes, she lives that character, but it takes Lord Hanuman to come in the form of a sadhu and remind her that you are a soul from Vishnu Loka who has come. Please go back. So imagine a soul in Vishnu Loka is, once you get into Maya, is not able to come out. So the illusion of Maya is so strong. We will read that chapter also. Now that you have understood this, when we read that chapter, you will immediately be able to connect, make all the connections. Deva, you spoke about detours in a journey of a character, said Urva. Let us express our gratitude to Urva. I have always wondered why the path of a character is always zigzag and full of twists and turns. Why can't it be a simple straight line? For instance, if a character decides to become a king, he has to go through so many distractions and obstacles. Chances of success are perhaps 1 in a billion. Most people become kings by chance, and those who set out to become kings end up becoming something else. Why does everything have to be so complicated in this miserable world? Remember, there was another chapter that we were reading about Tirupati Balaji and sage Bhrigu and Udvega. Varaha, they try to give him moksha. But every time they make modifications in the linga body, he changes another character. Lord Hanuman replied, no character wants to become a king or a queen or rich or poor. If you observe deeply, all characters want to become just one thing. What is that thing? Complete. They feel incomplete all the time.
Yeah.
They want to fill that incompleteness.
Void.
We are all driven by voids. And I realized this very early in life. I was not what I was now. So, but then what I am now. So, back in those days, I realized I was very good at reading people. So, that probably is why I'm in sales, I guess. So I'm very good at reading people. Why? Because when I would interact with people, I would always look for what is the void in this person. When I say void, there is always remember that a void drives a person. The stronger the void, the stronger the drive of the person. Like for example, the void is of wealth. Whether he has wealth in his life or not is different. But the fact that he has a hunger to achieve wealth, how strong is his samskara body is different. Whether he will do it through ethical means or unethical means is also different. But if he has the void of wealth, he will, that void will drive him. Let's say there is a void of power. You will see people in corporate world, they will have the void of power. They want to get to the top. They want to experience being in a top position. Another person has the void of being wanted by other people. So he will create dependencies all around him, so that people always look out for him. Another person has the void of lust. So he will chase the people of the other opposite sex. Let's say there is a void of victimhood. You realize the void of victimhood. You know what happens with people who have a void of victimhood? For them, everybody around them will become perpetrators of suppression on them. Like for example, feminists. I'm giving you an example, okay? Don't quote me on this. If you say feminists, they have the feeling that they are victims.
Yeah, they're getting.
So what happens is, if you feel victim, if you have the void of victimhood inside you, somebody has to be the suppressor, right?
Yeah.
So people around them, right from their husband, right from their father, grandfather, husband, son, grandson, boss, friends, everybody around them will become suppressors. Because if you have to feel victim, I was a victim, then somebody has to do the suppression work, right? Whether he does or not,
you won't find it.
your interactions with him will become like that you find suppressors everywhere because you have the void of victimhood. So everybody feels incomplete in their life. That incompleteness leads to a strong void. That strong void becomes your driving factor in life. So if you are able to identify, I would say my past life, if I was able to identify the void in a particular person, I would be able to manipulate that person. It was very easy. Very, very easy. All you had to do is plant certain thoughts which was in your favor and you could manipulate that person. But I realized in my spiritual path that I was doing wrong. And so even though now I identify the void in a person, I help that person and become more compassionate and empathetic towards that person for that void. An ordinary citizen believes that kings have everything, correct? He believes that becoming a king would make him complete. A king believes that when he has won all the kingdoms in the world, he will become complete. A winner of all the kingdoms thinks that when he has brought peace in his empire, he will feel complete. So nobody is feeling complete in this world. Everybody is feeling driven to feel complete. Unmarried characters believe that marriage would make them complete. Married characters believe that birthing children would make them complete. Parents think that they would feel complete once they have secured their children's future. A jobless person sees completeness waiting for him in the form of a job, while an employed person sees it in the form of a higher post. A hungry person believes that food would make him complete, and a well-fed person has his own colorful ideas as to what would make him or her complete. A destitute might see completeness in getting a few gold coins, while a wealthy person might indulge in charity or spirituality to feel complete, and unsuccessfully so. At this moment, your idea of completeness might lie in becoming a king, but the next moment, you might crave for some other entertainment to feel complete. A couple of hours later, you might feel the need of taking a bath to feel complete. Then a random thought of good food might send you searching for ingredients in the jungle. When you have fed yourself well, some other situation might arise that would threaten your idea of completeness and force you to change your plans. You now get a picture as to why a character's path is always a zigzag. Absolutely, Deva, said Urva. I deduce that more a character is focused on a single goal, straighter his or her path would be. Doing so is impossible when it comes to long-term goals. The only constant and unchanging goal of any character is to feel complete. The definition of completeness keeps changing, and so do goals. It begs the question, what truly makes a character feel complete? How do we answer that? So Lord Hanuman says, a character can't become complete because it is incomplete by definition. A character is nothing but a fraction. It is a portion. It is a slice of the whole time and space. The complete and the whole structure of space-time can be imagined as a pure white ball having no feelings, no movements, no activities. The soul that watches the ball of space-time as a whole is known as the absolute soul or the Paramatma. It is attached to the entire ball of space-time and hence feels nothing and experiences nothing. To be able to feel something, it has to get attached to a small portion, a random fraction of the whole. That random fraction is known as a character. All the feelings and movements arise due to the incompleteness of the character, due to the attempts to become whole. It's a very, very deep explanation. So, what is the soul? Our soul is a part of the whole, correct? Which means that
you can never feel complete.
No. Our soul is part of the soul. Our soul is part of the whole, correct? Our soul, Kumar Bhatre, let us express our gratitude to Kumar Bhatre also for this experience. So, what I'm saying is that the soul is part of the whole. When you realize the nature of the soul, you realize that you are part of the whole. So, in effect, you become whole and complete. But when we attach ourselves to this character, what happens? A character is a fraction of space and time. It is a fraction, it is a portion, it is a slice of this space and time. Can it ever be complete? No. In self-realization that we are shunya, we are nothing, in that nothingness you attain oneness. Only then can you feel complete.
Oh, now I understand that famous thing, what Sadhguru always says, that I experience the wholeness. Like,
Yeah.
he says,
So
like
in
some
the-
sadhus, they say that I am the whole and I experience the wholeness. I do not see a difference between this body and this body,
Exactly.
and this person and the whole.
You do not differentiate. You see yourself in everybody. An enlightened person. Who is an enlightened person? An enlightened person is a self-realized person. What is self-realization? That you are the soul and not the character. And when you become the soul is nothingness. It is already a part of Paramatma. And so you become a part of Paramatma. Paramatma is the only complete, the only truth. That is what the Buddha kept saying, right? That when he realizes this, he feels completeness, he feels oneness with everybody. That means that he doesn't differentiate himself between this body and that rock. He doesn't differentiate himself between himself and the tree, between himself and every other character that he encounters, because he feels everything. There is a beautiful video of the experience of enlightenment by Swami Vivekananda.
Okay.
It is on YouTube. So what happens is that Ramakrishna Paramahamsa gives him the experience of oneness. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa gives Swami Vivekananda the experience of oneness by touching him. The minute he experiences oneness, and there are so many people who have experienced this. Sadhguru himself has told about how the space and time vanishes. He sits on the dining table in front of the food, and when he opens his eyes, 8 hours has passed. He has no understanding of time.
And
Swami
also-
Vivekananda experiences this as that he is walking on the street and he's feeling a part of everything. He comes upon a light pole and he bumps into the light pole because he feels that light pole is also him.
Him.
That is oneness. Even in autobiography of a yogi, he has described the moments of enlightenment. You should all see that. If possible today, I will share it on the WhatsApp group
The
on the
video?
experience of Swami Vivekananda on enlightenment. Okay. Imagine an infinitely large thread, says Lord Hanuman. Imagine an infinitely large thread. Imagine that it has been woven in complicated patterns to make an infinitely large white sheet. If you saw the sheet as a whole, it would look plain, correct? If you saw the sheet as a whole, it would look plain. But if you went closer, like imagine this carpet itself. If I see it from this view, I'll see the whole carpet. But if I go and get stuck in a pattern, see there is a diamond pattern here, right? But if you went closer and looked at a small portion of the sheet, you would see a complicated pattern.
Yeah.
You would see the thread emerging in and out of the portion several times. You won't be able to keep your eyes set on the fixed boundary of that portion. Your eyes would slide along the incomplete portion to look for the complete and the whole. If I keep looking at this diamond portion of the carpet, will I be ever able to see the carpet?
No.
This is what happens when we have attached ourselves to this character. This character is a piece of that space-time. If imagining that this entire carpet is space and time, he tells that, see, the complete and the whole structure of space-time can be imagined as a pure white ball. That is the universe. The universe is nothing, Brahmand is nothing but a pure white ball. We feel that there is movement in this universe, right? That we are moving forward, that time is moving forward, but there is no moving forward. That is Maya. It has no feelings, no movements, and no activities. The soul that watches the ball of space-time as a whole, the soul is outside space-time, which means that if this is the carpet, the soul is here, it is able to see it. But the character is where? The character is in this diamond pattern. Now, since we have attached ourselves to this character, where are we? We are stuck in this diamond pattern. We are able to see the threads of the pattern. We are able to see the boundaries of this pattern. That's it. In self-realization, when you identify the soul, you are able to see the whole pattern. Then you are able to see the whole space and time. In this whole space and time, you are able to, you can only marvel at the mysteries of the universe. When a soul gets attached to a character that has just become a king, it wants to experience how it feels to be in his position. On the other hand, when a character wants to become a king, he is under the belief that when he became a king, he would become complete. Do you see the difference? Do you see the difference? Okay, let me repeat it. When a soul gets attached to a character that has just become a king, it just wants to experience how to feel to be in his position. Correct? Let us say your soul has now become the Prime Minister. You get the feeling of how it wants to be the Prime Minister. You want to experience all that power. Correct? On the other hand, let us say the soul of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. What will he be experiencing?
Nothingness.
No, he is not. The soul of Prime Minister Narendra Modi is not enlightened. He will be trying to say, how will BJP come into power in 2024? How will BJP come into power in the next on all the states?
He's experiencing the whole drama.
Yes. So he is under the belief. So when the character wants to become a king, he is under the belief that when he becomes the king, he would become complete. The character wants to feel what it would be. I want that I have the void of power in me.
Right.
What will make me feel complete? If I become Narendra Modi, I'll become complete. But Narendra Modi, though he is there, his soul is not experiencing completeness.
Yeah.
What it means to say is that nobody is experiencing completeness. A soul knows that a character can't be complete because characters are incomplete by definition. In fact, the soul itself chooses an incomplete portion of the space-time to experience the feelings and movements that the whole lacks altogether. It's a very powerful statement. Let me repeat so that we can understand it better. A soul knows that a character can never be complete because characters are incomplete by definition, right? In fact, the soul itself chooses an incomplete portion of the space-time to experience the feelings and movements that the whole lacks altogether. You remember, if we take the linga body, what will happen? We take all the karma and desire, and we are feeling it now. If I am the soul, what will I feel? If in self-realization, if I know that I am the soul is what? Nothingness. The soul is shunya. The soul is forever in permanent bliss with the Paramatma. The minute I remember that the minute I realize that I am the soul, I will feel no emotion absolutely, whatever, I will only feel bliss. I will be in joy, I will forever be crying because I have realized the Paramatma. Can I feel the worldly emotions do not have even one iota of power over me? Not one iota of power, because they say, I met an enlightened guru. Let me give you my own experience. I met an enlightened guru in a train journey. This happened when in the year 2007. I was reading for the first time the autobiography of a yogi. I was in a train journey from the longest train journey from Ahmedabad to Calcutta. I was in a train journey, okay? And there, in the platform, I went for a book. I remember during my engineering days, my friend had told me you should read that book. So I saw that book staring at me, I stared at it, I bought it, and I started reading it. It was so powerful that it was changing me like crazy. Like I wanted to leave everything and go up to the Himalayas to experience it. And I wanted to know what enlightenment feels like. I am in this strong emotion, and I thought to myself, if only I could talk to an enlightened guru. And in one station, the train stopped somewhere in Madhya Pradesh. Everybody is garlanding a guru, okay? And I'm thinking there, what if I'm able to talk to him? I should find out in which birth he is in and all that, right? And to my shock, he comes and sits right next to me. And I start talking to him. I could make out, he is so enlightened. I could make out, he is like a Divya Purush, okay? So I ask him, how do you feel when I'm trying to talk to him? He's talking to me in Sanskrit Hindi, but my Hindi is okay, so I'm still able to converse with him. And I ask him, Guruji, आपको जब I'm able to tell him all these feelings that I'm going through. मुझे लगता है कि मुझे ये सब दुनिया छोड़ छाड़ के हिमालय चले जाना है, तो क्या मुझे ऐसे करना है? So he is laughing. He is saying, तुम्हारा समय नहीं है अभी, तुम इसमें तुम रहोगे. So I said, पर मुझे जाना है गुरुजी, पर जब भी मैं सोचता हूँ जाने का, तो बहुत सारी चीजें मुझे आकर्षित करती है कि मैं इन सबको छोड़ के कैसे जा सकता हूँ. I'm a big bike rider. I had modified my Bullet. I had spent like 2 lakhs on my Bullet, just modifying it, remodifying it. तो जब मैं छोड़ता हूँ कि चले जाऊँ, तो मुझे लगता है मैं अपने बाइक को छोड़ के कैसे जाऊँ. हाँ, तो इतनी सारी लड़कियाँ हैं, उनको छोड़ के कैसे जाऊँ. All that, right? And I'm just like a young boy at that time. So he's still telling me that हाँ ये सब मोह माया है, तुम्हारा समय नहीं आया है. Then to imagine God is playing. Did you
ask him how will you get to know when it's your time?
I'll tell you. So right in this conversation, a beautiful girl walks by. I look at her, I look at him. Okay, he's looking at me. So I ask him. In my mind, I'm thinking there is no way he has not noticed her. Okay? So I look at him and I ask, Guruji, आपको कुछ महसूस नहीं हुआ जब वो आपके सामने से गई? He is laughing, okay? So he tries to explain it to me in this way. He says, आप कभी बीमार पड़े हैं? I said, हाँ, पड़ा हूँ. In what? English, okay. So he asked me, have you ever fallen sick? I said, हाँ, मैं पड़ा हूँ, I have fallen sick. तो I'll tell you what he told me in Hindi and then I'll translate it. He said, जब आप बीमार पड़े हैं तो अगर मैं आपके सामने स्वादिष्ट से स्वादिष्ट खाना रखूं तो क्या आपको वो खाने का मन करेगा? When you are sick, even if I keep the most delicious items in front of you, will you feel like eating it? I said no. तो he said, ये सिर्फ एक उदाहरण है. This is just an example. But when you are lost in the love of Lord, when you are lost in the love of you, when you realize yourself, you go into a different zone. Okay, when I say zone, I'm saying that he's saying that I am in the bliss, I am in the blissful world. मैं यहाँ पे हूँ ही नहीं. I am in divine love. जब आप उस स्तर पे पहुँच जाते हैं, जब आप परमात्मा के आनंद का भोग करते हैं, he told me that, जब आप परमात्मा के आनंद का भोग करते हैं, which means when you start drinking the nectar of divine love, that then everything else that this world has to offer फीका पड़ जाता है. मतलब it pales in comparison. There is nothing, it just doesn't live up, it doesn't match up to what divine bliss is. There is no power over you. That's why Shankaracharya ji, even though he was in a king's body, he was able to come out of it and come back to his body, because nothing, it doesn't compare. They are already swimming in the ocean of blissful love. The ecstasy of that is it's divine bliss that this world cannot hold.
See, even Buddha was a king. He's in king body.
But when he left that body, he didn't know. For him, it was the drive to find out what it was.
Yes.
So that is different. Once you become enlightened, then you are not able to, that power of the world doesn't have any control over you. You are able to look at it, smile and walk away. So that was my interaction with him, because he is already feeling complete. I am the one feeling incomplete, because my incompleteness wants to ride a bike and
Wants
do
to marry
all
a
those
beautiful
things
girl.
wants to chase beautiful girls, I want to live life. My life is that.
Yeah.
I have to do all those things. Okay, what Maya has to offer, I want to participate, involve, I want to do all that. But he is swimming in a different world. So let me also tell you this. So I asked him, how did you become like this? How was it that you became like this? So he said, मेरा जन्म एक ठाकुर खानदान में हुआ, in a very rich family of a landlord in Bihar. Okay, so he said, मैं जब 6 साल के उम्र का था तो मैं बाकी बच्चों के साथ नहीं खेलता था, पर वहाँ पे एक हनुमान मंदिर था. He was a हनुमान भक्त. तो मैं वहाँ पे जाके ध्यान करता था. I used to go to that Hanuman Mandir and meditate over there when I was at the age of 6. And at the age of 8, he ran away from home and went to an ashram. His guru, he already knew. He went to his Guruji's ashram, and then he was there in that ashram till 24. And after that, the Guruji said, do Bharat Brahman. So he has gone, he did Bharat Brahman. He went everywhere. He said, what is the crematorium, what is the thing, smashan. So मैं स्मशान में रहा हूँ, मैं नदी के किनारे रहा हूँ, मैं पर्वतों में रहा हूँ, मैं रेगिस्तान में रहा हूँ. He has lived in the mountains, he has lived in the desert, he has seen the whole of India, and he has come back. Now he's the Mathadikari, he's the second to the Mathadikari. There is a guru above him, he is the second in line. That is a divine person. And it was very evident the minute I saw him, that Tej, they say, no, that was
Tejas.
different. Tej, the Tej that was emanating from his face. I knew there was, when he sat next to me, there was a power that was there. I just knew. So that is a person who feels complete.
We are stuck in the illusion of happiness. We are all stuck in this Maya.
But I have something
Illusion. The
in
happiness-
conflict.
Sorry?
that-
Yeah, go ahead, finish. Yes, we are all stuck. Yes.
we are
Yeah.
We're all
stuck
stuck.
in the illusion of happiness.
Yeah.
We think that if I do something, we will get happiness. But later you realize that it's nothing here.
So,
Why I should Simply I wasted my time.
Jim Carrey, right? Hollywood actor Jim Carrey was the highest paid actor. He used to charge $12.5 million per movie or 20 million per movie when that Ace Ventura and all that was happening in the 90s.
Okay.
So he gave up acting, he gave up everything, he gave up Hollywood. And he now tells people, he went into depression, manic depression. And he then now tells people that people think that money gives them happiness. I have had all of that: power, money, fame, love, attention, everything in life. And people feel that all of this will give you happiness, and I'm here to tell you that it doesn't.
Oh.
Just read about Jim Carrey. There are a lot of videos that he says.
I think I saw one of them.
He
on
trolls
Instagram.
people also in fashion shows.
Yeah.
He trolls people in fashion shows. He goes and all. He does a lot of things. But yeah, he's a comedian at the end of the day. Yes, you were saying?
So I read a lot of Osho, but Osho brings a lot of conflict in you sometimes. Like we talk about moksha and understanding that completeness or attaining that completeness. Osho says involve in the life. Like he says, do whatever it comes to you spontaneously.
Osho, you have to understand, was way ahead of his times. Osho was. I have read all the books of Osho and I followed Osho for a long time. And I realized one thing, that if you have actually seen what Osho has to say, he encourages people to go ahead and have sex in his ashram. He encourages that massively. He says, go ahead. You want to, because he says that you are the people who have come. If I tell you to abstain, so that Osho was the opposite of abstinence. See, there are many paths to enlightenment. One of the paths, he says, is that the character, the soul realizes that there is nothing in this. Just like I tell you that Jim Carrey goes to that level of being the highest paid actor to realize that there is nothing there. Okay, there are many who have done absolute havas ka bhog, they say, whatever they feel like, go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
So you want to eat, go ahead and eat. You want to have sex, go ahead and have it. In fact, Osho guides the people where he observes this one person, okay, where he has gone around and he has had sex with everybody or most of the girls in that ashram, and he says, he goes to him one day and he says, have you had your fill?
Are you complete?
Or is there something more remaining in you? And he feels so ashamed.
Ashamed,
He
yeah.
says, what has it taught you? He asks him, what has it taught you? Are you going to, if you go down this path, what are you going to get? You have had it all. What are you going to get? So that is when that person makes an immediate turnaround. See, the thing is that a guru has to, what we have to explain, a guru has to say in only few words. The power of the guru is such that it leads to transformation. Even though I can say the same words, but when the guru says the same words, it's very different. The power is very different. So when he says it, he's able to make a transformation in his life. Do you know about, Osho talks a lot about Zen Buddhism.
Yeah.
So do you know about Zen koans?
No.
Zen koans are conflicting statements like the sound of a butterfly flapping,
Correct.
the sound of a one-handed clap. So these are all Zen koans, which means that they actually have no meaning. But when you go deep into something which is meaningless, you realize the significance of the meaningless so deeply that you come out of it and you attain enlightenment. So it so happens that you keep contemplating over this, and then the master comes and hits you with a stick. In one case, the master pushes him into the well as he is drawing water. And in that, you're so deep into contemplating something which is meaningless that a sudden push from the master and you have attained enlightenment. So that is another form of Zen Buddhism. But understand this, but Buddhism is all
I've
about...
heard that they beat the Zen.
No, it's not beat. It's don't attach yourself to the action.
Correct.
It is the way in which the transformation is brought about. This is very, very deep. I mean, it is on the edge of enlightenment. These people are on the edge of enlightenment. So do you know how Ashtavakra Muni gave Janaka enlightenment? You know
but I
about
know
it?
that there is Ashtavakra Gita, that what he said
No,
to
so-
Janaka, but I don't know.
No, so my question is very specific. So when he realizes that Ashtavakra, who's the guru of King Janaka, King Janaka is on the edge of enlightenment. Okay, and Ashtavakra sees that he's on the edge of enlightenment. He's coming towards him on his horse. As he is coming, he hides, and then when he's searching, when he least expects it, he comes from the back, and with his stick, he gives a very powerful hit on King Janaka's head, and King Janaka falls from the horse. That gives a moment of enlightenment, and he becomes enlightened. So these are some of the things that we are contemplating upon, which leads you to enlightenment. And it can't be explained. Why, how, Dimag ki khurafat, leave it. We told you, right, 2 things to be avoided on the path of moksha. 2 things to be avoided. What are those 2 things? Over-intellectualizing, which is Dimag ki khurafat. Why is this like this? How did that become like that? What will happen if I do this? Over-intellectualizing. And second is arguing. When you argue with people, you lose your inner urja, your inner energy.
Yeah.
So if they think they are right, just let it go. So the 2 things that we avoid on the path of moksha is Dimag ki khurafat or bekar ka bahas. Bekar ka bahas. You know what is bekar ka bahas? Worthless argument. 2 things we argue, we leave. If somebody does that, he calls you back, you lose your inner energy. You are on the path of moksha, you have to conserve your energy. Don't lose your energy in over-intellectualizing and arguing with people. How much more? Quite a bit more.
Yeah.
Let us take this up next time,
Yeah.
next week. So we'll see you all next week. When I read this chapter at home, it took me 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It has taken us 2 hours and we still have 4 more, 5, 6 more pages to go. But the thing is that, yes, what is more important is how powerful are the interactions that we are having. How powerful is each line sinking into us. Each line in this book is very, very powerful. It is going to lead us towards moksha. So have we gone one step towards moksha? If we read it from cover to cover, we will not. Same way, I was listening to Ishan Maheshji's translation of a dialogue of Ramcharitmanas. He said, what is Sri Rama's Dincharya? He describes. Lord Hanuman had given Tulsidas ji the divine vision to see what happens. Just like Sanjaya saw Kurukshetra war, the Hanumanji blesses divine vision to Tulsidas ji to see the daily Dincharya, they call it, of Sri Rama. So he says, he goes in the morning, he wakes up in the morning and he goes to the river. That's how he begins his day. It's a very simple statement, right? We would have passed over it. But there is a huge meaning in that one sentence. Can you imagine a king like Sri Rama, when he becomes the king, this is his Dincharya, after he comes back from killing Ravana and he assumes the king, right? A king has so many baths. There are assistants to give them bath. You see there are baths everywhere. You see the ancient Hoysala kingdom, when you go to, there is a bath.
Queen's bath and all.
King's
Humping.
bath, Queen's bath, royal bath,
Bath.
everything is there. Why did Sri Rama have to walk to the Saryu river every day to have bath? Think about it. We could have just moved over it, right? But he says, why? Because there is a symbolism. When we have bath, we are witness to Akash. So when he has bath in the Saryu river, he prays to all the Devi Devatas and he sits in dhyana. When you have bath in a river, there is divine water that flows over your body. You are one with the nature, because the earth, water, the wind and the sky are witness to you. It becomes the process of having bath becomes a divine experience. So you sit and you do dhyana after having a bath in the river. That's why having a bath in the river is so significant, that Sri Rama has to walk 1 kilometer to have bath in the Sarayu river and come back. Why would a king do that? Does any king do it? No. So that is why what in Ramcharitmanas he says that he will take only 2 lines, Ishan Maheshji, and he explains what we could have easily missed. But there is so much of divine explanation in that thing that each line becomes so significant. If you read Ramcharitmanas, you can read it. In one day you can read at least 500 lines. For the last 3 months, he has explained only in the last 3 years, he has explained only 500 lines. With over so many videos. That means that is the power of whether we read from the book or we read any of these divine scriptures. We can't tide over it. We can't pass over it, we can't glide over it, we can't gloss over it and say it is okay, it's done. Because each of it is so significant that it will take us a long time to interpret, understand, realize, and then move to the next.
Multiple meanings and layers of meanings.
Layers of meanings, layers and layers of meanings.
You can't one straight away, one
yes,
straight answer you can't do.
You can't. And the interactions that we have are divine interactions, which means that we are bringing home the message. Thank you. Jai Shri Ram, Jai Hanuman.